One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make today is assuming that chemical sprays are the only way to manage pests. This mindset creates dependence, weakens plant resilience, and often leads to outbreaks of secondary pests. I've seen this in backyard gardens, raised beds, and even soil-based hydroponic setups. Overspraying disrupts beneficial insects, damages microbial life, and stresses crops. The truth is, gardeners have managed pests successfully for centuries without relying on synthetics. They did it through observation, planning, and practical interventions that work in real-world gardens, whether large or small. If you want a garden that resists pests naturally, it helps to understand how older gardeners approach the problem. They started with plant selection to avoid problems before they began. Older gardeners knew that some varieties were naturally more resistant to pests. I prioritize these varieties in raised beds and backyard plots. For example, I choose tomatoes with thicker skins or beans with tighter pods when pests are prevalent. Leafy greens like kale and collards withstand flea beetles better than tender lettuces. Even in hydroponic systems, selecting cultivars that tolerate aphids or whiteflies reduces intervention needs. Ignoring this principle leads to weak plants that attract pests and require constant attention. They used companion planting to create natural defenses. Certain plants repel pests or confuse insects. I interplant onions with carrots to mask carrot scent, reducing carrot fly infestations. Nasturtiums act as a sacrificial crop, drawing aphids away from tomatoes. Marigolds release compounds that deter nematodes in the soil. In raised beds, I carefully space these companions to maximize coverage without overcrowding. Hydroponic growers can mimic this by interspersing pest-deterring herbs like basil or mint among susceptible crops in media beds or vertical systems. Companion planting is one of the oldest, most reliable tools for pest management. Physical barriers were used strategically. Older gardeners employed simple, hands-on methods to protect plants. I use fine mesh or row covers over brassicas to prevent cabbage moths from laying eggs. Low tunnels with light fabric shield seedlings from flea beetles and aphids. Even in backyard plots, cloches or cold frames double as insect barriers. In hydroponics, mesh or netting over channels can protect young seedlings from whiteflies or fungus gnats. Physical barriers reduce the need for reactive treatments and are often more effective than sprays, which only work after pests are established. They encourage beneficial insects to do the work. Older gardeners recognize that predators and parasites are allies. Ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps consume aphids, mites, and caterpillars. I plant flowering herbs like dill, fennel, and coriander to attract these beneficials, and I avoid practices that harm them, like excessive tilling or chemical application. In raised beds, creating small flower strips near vegetables improves predator populations. Hydroponic growers can similarly maintain flowering companion pots or strips near their systems to sustain natural pest control. Neglecting beneficials leads to imbalanced ecosystems where pests multiply unchecked. They rotated crops to break pest cycles. Many garden pests overwinter or reproduce in soil near host plants. Older gardeners rotated crops to prevent buildup. I follow a 4-year rotation in raised beds: legumes, leafy greens, root crops, and nightshades. This reduces soil-borne pests and encourages healthier soil life. In small backyard plots, even a simple rotation between 2 beds each year can reduce recurring infestations. Hydroponic growers can rotate plants in shared channels or media beds, adjusting nutrient profiles accordingly to prevent pests from establishing permanent cycles. They manually monitored and removed pests early. Older gardeners relied on observation. I walk my raised beds daily, inspecting undersides of leaves for eggs, larvae, or early signs of infestation. Aphids can be removed by hand or washed off with water, caterpillars plucked from brassicas, and slugs trapped with boards or beer traps. In backyard gardens, these simple actions often eliminate a problem before it spreads. Even in hydroponic channels, manual removal of affected leaves or seedlings keeps pest populations manageable. Relying solely on sprays ignores the importance of vigilance and early intervention. They used homemade or natural remedies when necessary. Before modern sprays, gardeners applied treatments derived from everyday substances. I use garlic sprays, neem oil, or mild soapy water sparingly, targeting affected leaves only. In raised beds, this reduces collateral damage to beneficial insects. Hydroponic growers can safely apply these natural solutions to water-based systems with careful dilution. These methods don't replace the need for observation and prevention. They complement them, providing a selective and sustainable option. Overusing any solution, even natural, can still disrupt ecosystems. They optimize plant health to resist pests. Older gardeners understood that strong, vigorous plants withstand attacks better than weak ones. I focus on improving soil structure, adding compost and mulch, and providing adequate spacing to ensure airflow. Watering deeply and infrequently encourages strong root systems. Stress, overcrowding, or nutrient deficiencies make plants more attractive to pests. Hydroponic growers should monitor nutrient balance and oxygenation, as stressed plants in media beds are also more vulnerable. Healthy plants are the foundation of pest resistance. They reduced habitats for pests around the garden. Older gardeners managed weeds, debris, and standing water to minimize hiding spots. I remove weeds regularly, clear fallen leaves, and rotate mulch to discourage slugs and other pests. In raised beds, I maintain tidy paths and prevent debris buildup, which also reduces fungal disease pressure. Hydroponic growers can apply the same principle by keeping trays clean, removing decaying roots promptly, and avoiding water pooling in channels. Pests thrive where conditions are unmanaged. Prevention is far better than reaction. They embraced biodiversity to maintain balance. Older gardens included multiple species to create natural checks and balances. I plant polycultures in raised beds, leafy greens next to legumes, herbs near brassicas, and fruiting crops spaced among flowers. Even in hydroponic systems, varying species and staggering planting times reduces the chance of system-wide pest outbreaks. Monocultures may look tidy, but they are magnets for pests and often require intervention. The lesson is that pest management is a system, not a single action. Older gardeners combined variety selection, companions, physical barriers, crop rotation, vigilance, natural remedies, plant health, habitat management, and diversity to keep pests under control. Raised beds, backyard gardens, and hydroponic systems all benefit from this integrated approach. Chemicals are a tool, not a foundation. Understanding relationships between plants, pests, and the garden ecosystem provides predictable results without harming beneficial life or risking resistant pest populations. If you want your garden to thrive without relying on sprays, start by observing, planning, and encouraging natural defenses. Inspect daily, rotate crops, interplant wisely, maintain plant health, and use natural remedies selectively. These strategies are proven, low risk, and adaptable to gardens of any size. If this practical, experience-driven approach resonates with you, subscribe to Husbandry. Share this video with other gardeners who want to grow smarter, protect beneficial insects, and manage pests naturally. Understanding how gardeners dealt with pests before sprays existed is one of the oldest, most effective tools in cultivation, and it still works today.